What's
Ah,
up? Great to
How are you
see you
guys
we're
doing?
both,
back.
man.
We're
How are my
back.
friends
Yes.
It's good
doing?
to be back.
I know, I
Thankful,
know.
grateful.
It's been
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's been too long. It's been too long. I
yeah,
know it's been what, two weeks
2
hiatus.
weeks.
yeah.
A lot has happened.
Lots of
A
experiences
lot, a
built.
lot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and lots of I think both ups and downs in terms of
Mm.
challenges and successes. So,
Mm.
but yeah, would love to just chat and share. But no, how are
Mm.
you guys doing as of now? And
Mm.
are you looking forward to the next day, to tomorrow? I'm sure you guys
Yeah.
are, but
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
So for me, I'm on
But
the
yes,
up.
please
I
share.
feel on
You're
the
enough.
up. In the last few
Nice.
days, I wasn't, though I'm on the up. And I feel like
Mm.
these ebbs and flows are happening a lot quicker for me.
Mm.
Typically before I would just grind it out, use willpower and power through it, and then be like, oh, I'm stuck. And then someone's got to tell me that I'm spinning my tires, and then I change. But I'm so self aware of myself now
Mm.
that I just shift constantly. And I even
Mm.
shift like the next day and pivot. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been pivoting quite a bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Just
kind of
from
like
newfound awarenesses.
just moving around constantly,
Yeah.
not
But
straight,
through that
not
pivot is
straight.
getting clarity. Getting clarity.
Mm. Indeed.
Nice, nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Definitely share more later. Luke, how about you in general? How's everything?
Yeah, in general, I think as you guys might have known, and people that are following me have known, I've been in France for the past 2 weeks. So it
Yeah,
has been an amazing, amazing, amazing trip. It's made me realize
nice.
what's important to me, nature and family.
Mm,
Um, so, and although during that time when I was out in France, I had a bit of anxiety. I'm just
yeah.
worried about stresses because I think partly because I was in a mode of inaction, and I wish, in retrospect, I wish that I just sat in the fact that, I deserve this break rather than stress about the inaction because I'm just so constantly moving and
Mm.
driving and driving. And when I'm not driving, I feel like shit, I should be doing this. And
Oh,
then because I'm not doing stuff, I was doubtful.
Mhm.
So it was really good to be back, back in my routines and rituals. I knit my anxiety in the bud with my morning rituals. So it's really good to come back to my rituals and routines. I think we are all creatures of habits. So for me, these habits and these daily kind of practices allow for me to be grounded. So good to be back, but missing nature. So kind of a dichotomy there, right? I would say
like
Mm.
FOMO a bit
all in all.
about where you are.
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel
indeed,
that.
Um,
Luke.
indeed. Yeah,
yeah,
When,
totally,
when,
totally
when we're
see
on
it.
the hamster wheel, right? When we're going all the time, we're
yeah,
so
yeah,
used
yeah.
to it, right? And when we're not, it's like,
Yep.
oh, feeling guilty.
Whoa. Indeed,
Yeah, that's the
indeed,
thing. Can
indeed.
we can
How?
we actually be outside of our regular kind of habit shell and still be okay? That's what I'm constantly thinking about too. With my life so ongoing, like things moving forward consistently right now because of baby, and just like business is busier because everything's kind of opened up a bit more over the summertime. But how do you actually, I don't know, appreciate the time, like you said with Luke, appreciate the time with family and nature,
Mm,
and like how you're supposed to actually be and not be in this kind of rat race kind of vibe, and you constantly have to strive for the
mm,
next best thing and be a better
mm,
person, blah blah blah, you know. And it's not that it's bad or anything, but I find that when we stop, sometimes we get into that anxiety mode, because I feel that too. It's like nothing's, if I'm not moving forward, it feels like I'm moving backwards. But actually you need that break where you just fully like detach, go off grid, and then when you come back, you actually have a lot more clarity too. I think with Andre's like
mm,
pivoting now too, it's a different side of the coin, Andre. Right now, I think you're like, I think I've been through that experience where you add so much stuff onto your plate, you're just
Mm.
sucking up all this knowledge, experience, and stuff,
Yeah.
and then now you can see the effects of what you've added onto your plate. It's very
Mhm.
interesting. Like sometimes
Yeah.
it might be overwhelming at times, but then you're learning how to,
mm,
like, kind of like shift, and then
Yeah.
mm.
eventually find that clarity path, that, or you find what you actually need and what you don't need. You
Got
start
it.
kind of seeing through
Exactly.
it.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got to the point where I'm more deliberate in setting boundaries now and saying no.
Mm,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just immediately, because before when I should start, I'm just open.
Totally.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Mm,
Learn, learn,
mm,
learn, consume, consume, consume,
mm,
consume.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
the point where I'm like, oh, I'm drowning.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
mm,
And
yeah, yeah.
what gets created is doubt. Because I'm being
Mm.
mm.
pulled in so many different directions. I'm like, I got no clarity. This person's going, telling
Totally.
me here, this person. So I had to go back inwards and then
Yes.
cut out the fat. And then with the
Yeah.
clarity, this allows me to say yes, no, 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 yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I agree.
Yeah.
Hello, Simon.
Hey, Simon.
Welcome,
Hi,
welcome.
Simon.
Oh, look at that.
Simon's
Fist
amazing.
bumps
Yeah.
all day. I can tell from his arm fold headshot. It's very, very positive and
Absolutely.
confident. So, but
Very
no,
confident.
totally agree with you. And um, it's cool. Like when you push yourself to that extreme, you get to see what kind of boundaries you want to set. With
Mm,
the people that you don't know, just like acquaintance or people that you even know, like how do you filter that, but also people that are close to you. I think that's where the boundaries are hard to set,
mm,
when it's people you've seemingly been so close to for so long.
Mhm.
So it's like,
yeah.
for example, my wife, my mom, my son, even, as simple as how do the upbringing of my little one, but you have to set the boundaries. It's like I want to like spoil him because he's so cute, and it's the new love of my life, but it's like, oh, I got to make sure that he grows up with some like some idea of what he
Mm,
can't do or what he has to be aware of when you're in society, right? So but no, appreciate you guys sharing that information too, because it sounds like we've been kind of beat up and kind of like enjoying time again. Because the mood is
a
kind of
little, a little.
like, yeah, it's like, oh
Yeah.
crap. Or it's kind of that FOMO vibe where maybe we went on a high and now it's kind of that, ooh, that kind of a little bit of a low, but it's always great to appreciate also what you have. I think I'm
Agreed.
reading Gary Vaynerchuk's it's like 12 and a half. I can't remember what it was called. One of his newest books. He talked about patience is one of the number one features that can get you really, really far. Because a lot of people want that immediate, where it's like, how do you actually like be patient through everything, and through this kind of stress situation too. It's just like being patient with you, and then
Mhm.
how do you have a time? It's like how do you actually
Mhm.
like lengthen everything? You actually, if nothing is by accident, then you actually have quite a long life to live. And how do you make that really, really worth it? It's kind of opposite of that YOLO vibe, where it's like, oh, you only live once, so you gotta like do as
Yes.
much as you can.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
you actually
Yes.
have so much that you can actually build an amazing, amazing life. But
Mhm.
people, maybe they cut corners and they see what's right in front of them that's shiny, right? So oh,
It's
lots of
true.
lots of
And I
feedback.
think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go Luke, go
And
Luke.
I think cutting corners as well. And I resonate with what you said, Andre, just now about learning and getting over investing in something. Let's say if you want to build this particular, for example, this structure that I see down there, you invest in the 10 best hammers, you invest in the 10 best screwdrivers, but really all you need is just one hammer and one screwdriver. Because for me, as at least in self-development, self-growth, I've just focused so much time on learning and learning and learning, so much so that I've kind of spent my time in the mode of absorption, in receiving without actually
Mm,
sharing the information. And I feel like sometimes I just feel stuck. And I
Yep.
like what you said as well, in one of your posts, Andre, about doubt, something to do with doubt. What was it? Yes, doubt will always take you out. Always take you out of doubt. I think it's a and based on what you said as well, Romy, it's a balance between patience and action. Because if you
yeah,
don't do
Mhm.
anything, you're patient,
yeah,
nothing's going to happen. But at the same time, if you act and you're not patient,
yeah,
um, you're just going to be constantly be on that hamster wheel. So it's really finding that balance between
Yeah.
doing good work, but doing good work without being attached to an outcome. Doing good work from your heart, doing good work in service of others to create a better world, to create a better life for your family. and not being attached to the outcome. At least that's what I'm trying to now do for myself. Just just serve,
Yeah,
and be
yeah, yeah,
patient at the same time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
No,
so what?
Yeah, it
totally
goes to
agree.
that harmony feeling because we've been
Mm,
sold that the hustle and grind, you gotta do the work, right? Hard work, YOLO, whatever. But we don't know how to work smart. Like I'm guilty of this, of being busy. So I'm just doing more. I'm
yeah.
taking shortcuts. I'm listening to audiobooks at 2x audio while I'm driving and doing this.
Shit.
Am I
That's
really
incredible.
absorbing the
Yeah.
audio or just being busy,
Mm,
giving me the sense of being productive? Or
mm,
finding one particular activity that gives me the maximum result, and then I can take
Yeah,
the
yeah,
break
yeah.
mm,
the rest of the day.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
I don't know. I find that like you said, the cultures kind of put us in this mode of being busy is productive, and like
mm,
exactly what you just said. So it's like, how can you get out of it? And if you work 1 to 2 hours a day, fully like high intensity, and get shit done, and then after that, it's like you actually get time to spend with your
Mm.
loved ones and
mm,
stuff too. But it takes time
mm,
to refine that. Like Luke's example about Andre in terms of the hammers. You got 10 hammers in your toolbox, but actually one is the one that you would ultimately use. But without
mm,
using all 10, you might not know which
mm.
one's the best, right?
True.
So
Good
you
point.
gotta you gotta
Good
test that
point.
out.
Mm,
But then again, it's like while you're testing too, you might think that this one's the best, but the next one is like might be better. So you're
mm,
always like worried, do I actually explore that next opportunity? I've also been reading fuck, it's like numbers. It's like a analytics book about how math is in our everyday lives. I'll find the name of the
Mm.
book, but it talked about this thing, like in the interview process, where when you interview people, um, maybe the first person is like the best person already, but you never know if you had like 10 candidates. Do you explore the next one? Because you
Mhm.
might get a better candidate, but you might not. But apparently, like based on math, it's better to take whichever the best one you get early. So,
mm.
but yeah, all math is kind of involved with that. I'll share the book later when I find it.
Oh.
But um, great points. And yes, I guess what can we do to cheer up the tone a bit? I think we're a little like
Yeah,
a
I
little.
know.
Let's smile a little bit more. How's workouts been,
All
friends?
right.
Have you been crushing workouts?
Oh yeah. Workouts feel great right now. I'm experiencing with athletic greens. You both mentioned it in the previous call. So I ordered a batch, and maybe this placebo effect, whatever, it's definitely gave me a nice kick to my workouts,
Nice.
more intense with it. And I've recently ordered mud water. I'm hoping it'll come
Oh
by
yeah.
Friday. That's the plan.
Okay, let
So
me
I'm
know. Let me know.
I want to put more mushrooms in my diet. So like
Nice.
lion's mane,
Nice.
Yeah.
cordyceps, reishi, turkey's tail, and just use that as a supplementation to improve my workouts. So
Mm,
my workouts have been nice and short and concise,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just more intense and more effective in that time, rather than just hanging out at the gym for 2 hours.
yeah.
Because I love the
Fun though.
gym.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
such a great place to be though. It's good to
It
watch
is. It
people
is.
and it's good to be seen, and yeah, it's all the benefits. Um,
But
but yeah, like
this is like. Go ahead. Go ahead, Romy.
go ahead. No problem.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, just wanted to pick up on loving the gym because there's this guy that I always see at the gym. I go at different times of the day, and I always see him. That's like, this guy doesn't work. Like, what's he do? He's just training like
Yeah,
3 4 hours. And, I mean,
yeah.
it's great that you spend like 3 4 hours in the gym and just earn passive income from whatever investments that you have. I mean, that's a life. I don't know whether it's a life or what live, but he spends like 3 4 hours a day. But sorry, Romy, to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Um, so yes, the book is called Algorithms to Live By.
Algorithms to
The
live
I
by.
love that.
Yeah, so
Gonna look that
the
up.
computer science of human decision. And it was recommended by Bill
Oh,
Gates, I think.
sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's way more entertaining than I thought. I thought it was going to be based on true like decision, but and then the other book I just finished was Grit. I think I shared last time. Great book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Near the end of the book, it was talking a lot about upbringing and how to bring up your children, or how do you lead people that follow. And yeah, that
Mm.
part was amazing. So it's like instilling the right amount of grit. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, and then now I'm reading also Why We Sleep, just
Mm.
Oh
understanding the power
yeah,
of
great
sleep.
one.
Yeah, yeah, Matthew
Great book.
Walker. And then 12 and a half, like I talked about, leveraging the emotional ingredients necessary for business success. And that one's by Gary Vee. So, but no, and then those are short,
Yeah.
short books. They're all like, 4
See, see,
hours
see,
or
Romy.
less.
What I love about you just reading these books is and picking up on what Andre said, because I'm like you, Andre. I listen to 1.7 times speed, 1.8 times speed as well, almost at some point 2 times. And when I hear like one time speed, I was just like, dude, just speed up. Like, come on.
It's like go 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 go. Let's fucking
I'm
go.
1.2. I'm 1.2.
Exactly.
I think I want to comprehend it to some degree. But apparently, like how you're
Yeah.
supposed to read, like I've spoken to a lot of people that do audiobooks or just regular books even, is you flip through the book and then you see kind of the table of contents, flip through to actually what catches your eye that you actually don't understand
Mm.
and are interested in, and just read that part, rather than like you have to consume the whole book. And that part I've been trying to practice recently, and I'm like, oh, reading
Wow,
becomes
that's
more
good.
interesting. Yeah.
Good
Mm.
insight. Good insight. Because
Yeah.
what I love about you, Romy, is that every time you share something about a book, you share something that's really deep. And I've read Grit before, and the way you've articulated the lessons on what Angela Duckworth has shared,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And I probably attribute the fact that I guess I listened to it at 2 times speed and just kind of glossed through it.
Yeah.
And although and I don't really pick up a big picture. Okay, it's the book's about grit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
but what I've learned as well is and I think it's also just this whole talk about patience as well. Not
Mm.
patience, but repetition rather. I've now started to still listen to 1.7 times speed, but I listen to the book again, and then if I
Oh,
can,
okay.
3 times. So in that one time, I've gone through it, and at times I write notes, and I find that's allowed me to cement the concepts a little bit better. But I love the idea of just kind of scanning through the content page and focusing on what's the one thing that you really want to
Mm.
extract from the book, because
Yeah, I think we're
there's
like
so
what
much
you're
in there.
saying too. It's like, like I don't know, since young at school, like for me at least, I've found that the teachers are always like, you have to absorb the whole book,
Mm,
and like make sure you read carefully in terms of everything, and then it's kind of anxiety driving when I'm like just not reading parts of the book anymore, or even audiobooks, when I'm listening to it, and I sometimes I like not pay attention for a good 5 minutes because I'm like doing
Mm.
something else. I'm like, shit. And like I don't, and when he's talking about one part, I'm like, I don't understand what they're talking about right now because I wasn't listening to the past 5 minutes. And I don't know if you guys, fall into that kind of a mode too, especially at 1.7. I don't understand how you guys consume it so quickly. That's amazing.
Yeah, it
Um,
goes back to like the intent, right? Am
yeah.
I listening or reading just to complete it so I feel
Yeah, 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 yeah,
accomplished,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
am I just wanted to get that one golden nugget out
Yes.
and then really
Yes, yes.
apply it and not having that
mm,
pressure of having to complete it? Yeah,
yeah. And
because
I don't know. For me, go ahead, Andre. Go ahead.
yeah, because like for me, it's like if I could just grab one piece of knowledge that can help move my needle forward, because my wish list for books are growing, man, and I feel like I won't have the amount of time to read them all. I won't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I was
just
just checking on Audible right now. The fastest speed is 3.5. So I'm like,
wow,
who
they
the
they
heck
I don't know who
updated
would
it.
be able to do
How about
that.
with two?
That's
How
Huh?
nuts.
about
That
two
means
was the
someone
update?
needs that speed.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Someone needs
how does it even
3.5. This
count?
is nuts.
But imagine how many books you can finish, though. That'd be pretty
So
Oh
what?
impressive.
Bill
man.
Gates and Warren Buffett reads 2-3 books a week or something? What's the statistic on that?
Or
Can't remember.
2, 3 books a week. That's pretty
Bill
impressive.
Gates. Yeah. How
Yeah,
many
yeah, yeah,
books
yeah.
does Bill
He
Gates read?
actually there was a documentary on YouTube, or just a short clip on him saying his reading retention rate is like 93 or 94% or something
Wow,
ridiculously high.
What?
insane.
Yeah,
That's
and fast
insane.
too. So it's like, and he
It's
can
like
take that information and make it really really like succinct too. I think he would
Wow.
spend like
mm,
a whole week, like yeah, like what you're talking about, in his like kind of a house where he just fully just consumes like a bag of books and he just reads through them. I don't know, man. I don't have that skill set, so
yeah, I love that.
I don't know if
Sounds like
I'll
Neo getting, learning
Yeah.
learning martial arts. Learning.
yeah. Well, and there's a talent piece, right?
Downloads.
You know, your body's
Uh,
just made to do this specific type of task very, very well. But obviously, it still takes effort and
Mhm.
to move through those things, right? So, like for me, I can easily take photos, for example, after learning that. I picked it up pretty quickly in terms of technology and composition and the art side of things, but I still need to go out
mm,
and shoot and practice the skill set. But for me, the advantage is I get to learn those things a lot quicker.
Mm.
Um, but same thing, like each of us have this kind of talent in a specific field. But it's like, how do we utilize it properly to develop it into an actual skill set that we can re-explore and get better, 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 and refine, and then after like create achievements from it, right? So with more effort, but
Mm.
yeah.
no, yeah, definitely highly recommend. Actually, yeah, I'm at this window. These are the books that I've been reading. So, 12 and a half. The Thank You Economy I haven't gotten into yet, but it's also Gary Vee. Why We Sleep,
Oh yeah.
uh, Grit is Great, and then
Mm,
Mm.
the rest. These ones are deeper, like Beyond Order, and the other one is what? He had another one that I didn't buy, I think, because I have the Act book. Uh, what's his first book?
12 Rules of
Rules of
Life for
Kale.
Jordan Peterson.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But he had one before this one. Wow, I forgot what the name was. I think if we click in, oh, there you go. 12 Rules for Life. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
this one's
No
Beyond
rule of life.
Order, which was the sequel to it. So, and then before that, there's Maps of
Nice.
Meaning. This is one of his
Mm.
first books that I think is pretty awesome too. So, but these books get like this 26 hours, so it's like a
Yeah, I know. It's
pretty long
yeah.
to read. That's why 2x is
So
pretty
one
good, I
point
think.
seven.
Yeah,
1.7
Surumi, are
is
you
probably
reading it
about
or are you listening to it?
60.
Both. I have the book and
Wow.
then also, but like these ones with the shorter ones, I just do the audiobooks. Cuz he also,
Oh,
like Gary Vee actually talks off the book too
I
and
see.
actually makes comments about very very recent things like in 2022, rather than just the book is like written in 2021, for example. But he'll talk about NFTs, which he gets more into detail about, rather than when the book was written. That was just the
Mm.
beginning of it. Yeah, so it's quite interesting in
Mm,
terms of um, like how things are consumed now, especially book wise. Like there's a convenience in audiobooks, but sometimes I'm afraid about the retention of things. I find when I actually read
mm.
something, the retention's high, but it's slower. So I'm quite a slow
And
reader.
Yeah, and
So
then how much of it though are we
yeah,
applying is the question too,
yeah, true,
right?
exactly.
true, true,
Application is so important, right?
true.
Like that's where I think is the key. If we can apply just one or two things that we've learned out of the book, and that's why I think this is great. Our kind of little dialogue here, where I get to share a piece of what I read. Yeah, it
Mm.
actually makes a lot
Yeah,
of sense,
that's
and
great.
all of us can benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm.
And,
no,
and
very
to
very
that point as well, I mean, I love, I guess all the three mediums serve different purposes for me. I find
Mm.
I do like the tactile holding a book
Mm.
because you can get the highlight, you get to open the book, and it's a more, I find I'm more connected to what I'm reading. But I find Kindle is great to highlight points and share insights. It's copy and paste that particular thing. And audiobooks are
Yeah.
great too. But I think the best way is to have all three, and that's what I found. If there was a
Yeah.
book that I like audio on Audible, I will buy Kindle so I can highlight certain points and share it as
Nice.
posts, or alternatively having the tactile version. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
to what you're saying as well, and Andre, my book list is just growing and it's just diverse, like from spirituality to entrepreneurship to breath work to fitness to but it's like, where do I even start? There's not enough time. So I think that
Yeah.
Mm.
for me, it really is starting to just learn to focus. And I was told by one of my coaches before, it's like you become an expert at something when you read 10 books on that subject. So I think that always stuck at the back of my mind. So let's say if I focus on a topic, I want to be able to know that I've absorbed 10 books. And at least for me right now, the focus is breathwork, because like you, I was kind of going all across the board, different genres. And I was, in my mind was trying to make connections with all of the information that I was receiving. And there's grit, there is being superhuman, talking about flow states, and then there's nutrition. It's like, focus, Luke. It's just like, it comes back down to, just being
I think
distracted,
it has kind of manifested itself already to, like, back to your character and personality of helping people. Like, I remember the post that you had on Facebook about, in the field where you had a bunch of people kind of just joining in terms of the workouts and stuff. And I think that's kind of how it manifests out. Like, all this information that you're consuming and consolidating in a very intelligent, natural way that your brain works, kind of outflows into that group, or the like, how do you give it to the people, or give it back to the people, right? And I know that there's that anxiety of us wanting to level up constantly, but I don't know, like, for me personally right now, it's like, what is absolutely necessary?
Yeah.
Like, being a better person and constantly being better is, I think it's a good thing,
Yeah.
because we're healthy. I think we have a healthy mind,
Yeah.
healthy spirit, and healthy kind of fitness, and a body too. But it's like, ultimately, it's good information to share out, and that's, kind of a service, like what you're talking about too, Luke. I think that's, and you already, you already do that. So it's like, once you're doing that, I think the information coming in, it doesn't matter like if you catch up or not. It's like, as long as you can benefit the people that you're serving, ultimately, I think that's
Agreed.
great.
Yeah, and the
Great
people
job.
also drive the direction where you want to go as well, right? It has an influence where you want to
100%.
learn. And I find that, us three,
Totally.
we have this lifelong passion of learning and growing. It's in our spirit.
Yeah.
So whichever we kind of put our attention to, would it be photography, family, or breath work, or coaching, we'll dive deep into it naturally, because we'll run into scenarios that kind of forces us to learn more about it. And one thing I've been experimenting on is that, because my growing wish list is creating anxiety, because there's always another book, another seminar, another course someone's pitching me, I've been inversing it by trusting my innermost wisdom. What about tapping into my intuition? Of course, my intuition may not know the science behind breath work, right? Though it might know the basic principles. And this allows me to maybe just, I don't need to learn marketing or sales anymore, because I'm passionate about what I do, or I've learned enough about it and I can get away with it, and I can add other pieces on. So it's like kind of choosing a lane and then kind of cutting out the rest to save that time. Yeah. Because there's just too
I think
many.
that hammer, the hammer example you stated earlier on, Luke, about Andre, that's exactly the point, I think, of what is absolutely necessary to move forward. But us being humans, we're constantly curious and want to be better, right? So it's like, I think we'll naturally keep getting better, and we want to get better. So, but it's like that balance again. Like with family, for example, I think that's a big piece right now.
Oh, hey, Romy, your
Yeah,
mic's
Romy, we lost you. We lost
your
your mic.
Oh, we're back.
You're
We back.
Yep, you're back now.
We back.
Back
Yeah, I
now.
spilled
I
Coke.
lost you at the family part. Is a big part of you.
Oh yeah. I spilled Coke all over my table. So
Oh
I'm just
no,
trying to deal with
man.
this really calmly right now, which is awesome. I spilled it
Hey,
twice.
I would
you're
not
doing
have told.
calmly.
I would
Yeah,
not
you're
have
doing
known.
calmly. I
I
didn't know
would
you
not have
spilled
known.
Coke at all.
Exactly.
Oh really? Yeah.
Really? No.
I know. Good. That was my intention. My intention was to be like, nobody knows. So, I
Yeah.
think it's quite interesting to point out where things that are anxiety driving. I don't know if anything's burnt up, but I think the floor is also wet. I might spill it again. But yeah,
Yeah.
no. Good points. I think my friends of kind of exploring but discovering. I think we're
Exploring,
discovering
discover.
what's kind of fitting properly now, and that's useful.
Mm,
Because yeah, this
mm.
exploration phase is exhausting, man. When you're like,
It
when you
is. It
like, I think
is.
at the
It
tail end of
is.
it, when you're like before you really find something, it's like,
Mm,
where's that thing? Where's that actual hammer that I need? Out of this
mm.
10.
Mhm.
Um, but then you feel like you
And,
have to use all of them constantly still to find that
yeah.
one, and it's like shit. I don't
And,
know
and
if I
and
have
and
enough
to your
energy
point
to
as
deal
well,
with it. Yeah,
and to
yeah,
your point as well, Andre, it takes time and experience to try those 10 hammers, and now you're 10 hammers wiser than you were before. Because if you did not use those 10 hammers and you only focus on that one hammer, I mean, this is a flip side, you would not have known this other hammer would do this particular chip, while that hammer would be able to carve something a different way. So I think it's just a matter of, once again, it always comes back down. Life lessons are very simple about balance and stop and smell the
Mhm.
roses. A lot of
Yeah.
times
Yes.
we're always going ahead, and I stress I'm anxious where I am, especially wanting to be a provider of a family. But I look at where I am right now versus 5 years before. Like, I'm a totally different
Crushing it.
person, and I've got so much more depth of knowledge. I've got so much more courage to lean into aspects which I'm uncomfortable with. Back in the 5 years ago, the lack of maturity would be like, oh no, that I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. And I guess for you, Andre, and of course for you, Romy, as well. I mean, look at the people that you've become, and being able to lead and articulate your thoughts, and
Mhm.
not only that, but be able to add value to people's lives.
Mm.
It took a long road. We all took the long road. I think it's just time to just kind of sit back and just,
Yeah.
it's
Because
Agreed.
when I
like
sit back,
I've come pretty
it
far.
starts to connect on its own,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm not
Yeah,
yeah.
giving
it
enough
does, doesn't it?
space
Very magical.
for my
Yeah, yeah.
unconscious to like percolate all that information and to get the
Mm,
ahas, because now I relate it back to my experience. So it kind of goes back
mm,
to any feedback is good feedback.
mm,
You can live
mm.
your life and not read a book. Though if you're
Yeah.
very introspective and have great level of awareness, you can pick out the
Mm,
wisdoms in how you lived your life.
Yeah,
mm.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
Speaking of wisdoms, I think I've shared this before. What I've really started to do and act on more is really reclaim my projections. Like, for example, if I'm looking at someone or on a post, or just judging someone, almost instantaneously coming back down to what am I lacking. Back in the day, I would
Mhm.
just be like, he's this, she's that. But it's just really just insecurities, and really being able to just pull the veil back. And it's really my projections on someone and a situation, which all revolves and all is rooted to a need that is not met. And it's still a work in progress, but I think it takes that maturity, and it takes that
Mm.
time and self-awareness, as you've um, pointed out, Andre, to be able to just kind of sit back and just be curious,
Mm.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
I
mean,
agree.
I had a couple posts on Facebook a couple of days back that created a lot of commotion.
Yeah, I
And
know.
it was great. I mean great in terms
Yeah,
of how like a debate, though some of it kind of went sideways a bit there too.
yeah.
Though it just kind of shows that, like, first of all, when I started posting, I was very self-conscious. Okay.
Mm,
And I was afraid to be judged. So I posted to get the self-worth, to get the likes, to get
mm,
approval.
mm,
And I
mm,
noticed I still had remnants of that when
Mm.
people started to disagree. And it was like,
mm.
ugh. And I
Yeah.
felt it. I felt the judge saying, look at you, you're such an idiot. Told you, you
Mm,
don't know what you're talking about. The doubt came in,
mm,
though this time it was quicker for me to shift from that to say, reframe. This post isn't about being liked and being right. This post is
mm,
about creating engagement and having a
mm.
conversation around it. right? And that allowed me to like just release it, so that my worth is not attached to the post. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have to set it that way. You've created a platform for conversation and dialogue, and there's going to be perspectives and people at different levels of their life experiences
Yeah.
that's going to be wanting to share, because social media is just that. It's social, right? So people want to share their perspective, and everyone becomes an expert rather than a caring perspective, and actually have an intelligent dialogue. But it seems like how you phrase the things when people are in disagreement with your statement, you phrase it
Yeah.
well. Like, yeah,
I
but
do,
I know what you
because
mean.
I'm very
You,
aware that
yes, but you
I'm
take
not
a
here to be
there's that
defensive.
piece. There's that piece that, of
Mhm.
course, you would take it personally when it's like, I do
Yeah.
not agree with you. How can't to program my mind? Oh, sorry, we're starting something
Yeah.
and finish.
If we
Sorry,
start
Alex.
something, and
How can't.
is this so? How do you program your mind to start something and finish? Does that mean, Alex, that you just can't seem to complete something? Maybe you can share a little bit
Yeah,
more.
do you mind
Is
elaborating
that
a little
what
bit
how I?
on that, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, to back to Andre's point there.
Mhm.
Recently, when I was going like pretty ham on TikTok before I got a little sick. Oh yeah, last week I was like all sick. It wasn't COVID, but I was just out,
Oh man.
um, and just had to stop everything. But back, obviously back now. I'm better. I'm about like 85%. But anyways, jumping to Andre's thing again, it's the TikTok, there's someone that judged me on. It's like, bro, go get a haircut. That was one like short
Mm.
statement, and then I was like, oh fuck, whatever. I'm like, I just put, oh, I totally agree with you. I was just gonna go get a haircut. So that was one of the points. But it that kind of stabs you and stings you a little bit, and be like,
Mm.
ooh,
Yeah.
people are watching, which is a good thing. That's kind of
Right.
my intention. I want people to see and
Yeah.
Mm.
and start having conversation. And then there's one I talked about finding the humor and happiness in everything in life. And because my
Yeah.
topic is about being charming, and a lot of it is about being that there's a guy that pointed something out. It's like, no, I prefer to actually, sit in my emotions and reflect on myself and be genuine and authentic about my feelings.
Mm.
And then, like, for me, I'm like, that's quite introspective, like
Mm.
being charismatic and connecting with people, let's say, to be sociable is to reach
Yeah.
out, and look
Yeah.
outwards. So
Mm.
it's not that I said that wasn't a valid point or anything. I just said that, when we do connect with people, obviously we want to be positive. The genuine and the genuineness and the authenticity is on the eye of the beholder, because you can be an actor and act really well and seem authentic, seem genuine, but your true inside feeling would only be known by the person that is actually emoting, basically, right? So, but yeah,
Mhm.
that the thing he commented next is like, I don't think you've put enough thought into what you're talking about here right now. Being a
Mm.
charm is such a superficial thing, blah blah blah. He started commenting on that, and I
Mm.
was like, of course that jabbed me, and I'm like, fuck,
Mm.
this guy doesn't understand what I'm trying to deliver here. It's like, you're obviously not talking to enough people. Otherwise, you'd know that people love talking to people that are genuinely more positive rather than negative,
Mm.
right? So when you approach someone and they're, negative, it's going to be very hard to continue and expand that conversation and dialogue. Whereas if you come with someone that's positive, at least you open up opportunity in that environment.
What
But
what a
yeah,
great example that he's displayed there,
Yeah.
right?
I know.
By
I
being-
I know. I'm like, man, I'm like, people they jump to judgment pretty
Mm.
quickly,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
based on
Indeed. Indeed.
29-second video I've posted on
Totally.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
here's the thing,
And
I,
yeah.
I I created a saying growth
Yeah, 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 yeah.
only happens
Only through
only
conflict.
only that
Yeah,
that
only
triggers
through
all the
Yeah.
conflict.
things,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I saw that.
Here's the
I
thing,
know.
out of all the comments,
Yeah.
nobody has asked me what the
Yeah.
meaning of conflict is to me, because it can mean
Mm.
many different things. Though a
100%.
prejudgment was made based on what my perception of conflict was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I've kind of gotten better with my communication, immediately if I reply back saying, no, it's this way, I'm trying to get you to understand me, it's going to
Yeah.
create an argument,
Of
right?
course.
Sure.
Because I'm not hearing what they're saying. So instead of stating
Mm.
my point again, because
Yeah.
that could sound defensive, I
Yeah.
asked the question, could you clarify? Because now I'm
Yeah.
seeking to understand you,
Your perspective.
get that connection, and maybe perhaps you want to understand from my perspective,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Though I got to be always the one coming to you, unless that person is coming to me. But rarely do people come to you to try to understand your perspective.
Yeah. Is it
No. They
seeking
already.
to be understood or seeking to understand? It's two very, very different perspectives, and that's where the care comes in. Are you truly, like, as humans, we're naturally altruistic. We want to be helpful,
Mm.
reach out to people. But once it get to this, cancel culture, being woke, and you have to be careful with like everything you say because you might disrespect
Mm.
someone. It's so weird because certain things, it's like they become overprotective of the mediocre or the general. And I'm like, because then it's actually fair for everybody. But no, there's actually sides that you can stand on and have adult conversation to try to truly understand each other, and reach out and give space for that person to actually talk, in a very civil and thoughtful way, that you're just trying to show people what your perspective is, rather than trying to force it down someone's throat and be like, no, you're
Yeah.
wrong. It's
Mhm.
more of, I haven't really explored your perspective. Do you mind sharing a little bit more? I might not agree with it ultimately, but at least now I know in the world there's someone, and I'm sure because of that someone, there must be a bunch of people that also has that perspective,
Yeah,
right?
it
So
disarms
it's not right or
everything.
wrong.
If someone would just
Yeah.
truly, if I went to you, Romy, and
Yeah,
wanted to understand your perspective, that makes you
yeah,
want to understand my perspective.
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Exactly. I agree.
to that point, I agree with it, but it might not be necessary. I'm just saying. My seeking to understand your point perspective, naturally we are like, we love each other's points naturally, so be it we agree with it or not. But I've come to an understanding with myself that I don't need to be understood,
Mm,
because sometimes that there's a conflict that gets generated. It's like asking for a return when I ask for something,
mm,
kind of a thing. So it's like, if I open a door
Mm.
for somebody, I would expect like a thank you. Even
Yeah.
as
mm.
if someone doesn't say thank you and just like walks in, then I'll be like, what the fuck, it's like you have that like natural response of,
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
person's so
Mm,
impolite, blah, 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 and you start having all these judgments. But
Yeah.
can you actually
mm,
like just politely open the door for someone without truly an actual return, because you
Yeah.
just want to be helpful? I can only do it like truthfully to like maybe three people, or four people, like my wife, my mom, my in-laws
mm.
maybe, and my son, without
Yeah,
asking for any return. But now I'm like, even something simple like that in terms of gestures. So this
totally.
type of seeking understanding, or seeking for to be
Mm.
understood, um it truly, if you want to be unconditionally understanding somebody, it's that point of, you don't have to share your point, I'm here to hear you
Mm.
out.
Mm.
And then
Yeah, go
if you
back
do
to
Yeah.
that,
releasing attachment.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, there's
releasing
an
any
attachment to that.
attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when someone, after you've hear them out and heard what they're saying, if they don't ask in return,
yeah, yeah,
would you feel like
exactly.
shit, right?
Yeah,
And
that's a great question. That is a great
yeah,
question.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
so it's a study. I think it's a homework where, yeah, I don't have to share my point, unless you truly
Mm.
are
It's funny
receptive to.
because the door thing,
Yeah.
not too long ago,
Oh, you
I
just
always hold the door for someone,
sure.
right?
Mm.
Especially if they're
For a
right
while.
behind me.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Of
Oh,
course, of
no,
course.
no, no. I'm like,
Yeah,
just
for
hold
a
it,
while.
not the, go
It's
ahead,
the
go
worst
ahead,
when
go
they're
ahead.
nervous and
No,
they're
no.
like running. They're like, oh, it just makes them feel like shit. That's the best. I've done that a
So,
few times.
so this guy was right in front of me. We made eye
Okay,
contact, right?
okay, okay.
And then he's in front of me. He opens up the door. I expected. I had an expectation. Now he'll just hold it for me, so I'll walk right in.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just walked right
Nothing.
in,
Let's
and the
go.
door just closed right.
Oh man, in your
Oh.
face.
And then I got irked by it. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what the
Mm,
this
fuck?
is so rude,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had that attachment.
Expectation,
Yeah.
attachment, and expectation.
And this is quite
And that's
cultural, I think. Yeah. It's very interesting.
yeah.
I don't know if it's Singapore is pretty similar in terms of gestures.
I think it's just not so much because everybody's in a rush here.
Oh, okay.
You know, I always everyone's in a rush here, and I find that there is a certain level of what I found a certain level of entitlement as well,
Oh.
and
Okay.
and that's what I've found at least. But I find that back to what you were saying, about non-attachment, and that made me think of this quote that I saw. Let your concern be with action alone, and never be with the fruits of action. Do not let the
Mm.
results of action be your motive, and do not be attached to inaction as well. So it's about non-attachment, and the reason why I bring up the whole entitlement thing is just dealing with everyday people here that demand a certain level of service and demand a certain level of respect. I think it's the Asian culture thing as well. I'm your eldest. You should respect me, even though I'm rude to you. I'm your eldest. So I don't know whether it's a Yeah, it could be a cultural thing as well that is ingrained. And that's why in Singapore there's been stories of people treating their helpers like slaves, literally. I don't know whether it's in
Yeah.
Singapore particularly. There was this story of this family that was eating in a restaurant, and they kept a helper outside, just sitting outside the
Whoa.
restaurant,
Yeah.
eating on her packet of food, and it's just
Oh.
disgusting. It's absolutely
Hmm.
disgusting that this is such a developed and first world country, but yet stuff like that is happening, which just baffles me. And yeah, I guess it's just one of those things where I don't know whether it's cultural, whether it's the whether it's Singapore. I don't know, but these are
I do
well.
think it's quite cultural, but also in
Mm,
a kind of socioeconomic level of hierarchy. There's always obviously a
mm,
hierarchy standpoint of
mm, mm,
who's better than who when you're interacting with people in what environment, and in what
mm,
country, and what
mm.
backgrounds. It's really really complex. It's not just one simple
Mm.
thing, obviously, but
Of
that
course,
door opening doors, or how you treat people that you hire, for example, or how
Mm,
you treat people that uh, brought life to you, or raised you up.
Mm.
There's a certain
mm,
kind of unspoken rule that has been set by culture and your environment,
mm,
that when you don't follow it, it tweaks the system a little bit in a negative way, and you get frowned. What you're doing gets frowned
mm,
upon. Like, let's say that example of Andre uh, expecting the door to be open, when you were like pretty tight, next to the person. Yeah, I thought it's not cool. That's definitely not cool. But then I'm coming from a North American, or a seemingly sophisticated person's perspective of, if I understand culture and being polite, being a gentleman, I would open the door for the person next to me or right behind me, even if the person just got out of the car, like at the parking lot that's about like 20 feet away. I'll be like, oh, that person's coming in. I'll just like hold it, and he'll be like, oh, walks a little faster and then rushes in the end. It's
Go for a rush right out of
yeah,
people.
yeah, seriously. It's
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
hilarious. It's the best. It's the best part. Try it out. Try it out next time, because that person also wants to be polite to receive that gesture that you're offering, right? Whereas a person that Andre experienced, could be a bad day for him. Could be, I don't know, if is it to the gym or?
Yeah, it's the gym. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. And
Well,
probably is like on pre-workout. He's wanting to like fully utilize that, half an hour, 1 hour kind of energy. We don't understand his perspective, so maybe that's
mm,
how his output is that way. I don't truly, there's nothing attached, there's no meaning attached to that gesture at all. It's a door that you've walked really close to him, that he's opened up first, that he doesn't have a duty to keep that door open.
Mm.
And if it hits you in the face, if you truly take responsibility and accountability, you should have had your hand out. So it's like, if you really think
Mm.
about it that way,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's okay. But I'm with you, Andre. I'd be like, that guy's a dick.
Mm.
Like, he should have just been nice
Yeah.
and just opened the door for me. Yeah. But
Or maybe
that,
maybe he's been holding the door for like 10. Maybe he's been holding the door for like 10 people, and you were the 11th.
Yeah,
yeah,
something
yeah,
happened, right? So
yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
So
It goes back to these prejudgments that we make, right? Based on
Mm.
how we should be
Indeed.
treated because we treat other people that way, right?
yes,
Mm.
yes.
Mm,
And
Mm.
I think sometimes, not sometimes, I think that generates not like expectation generates natural discomfort when it's not met,
Mm.
mhm,
and or
Mm.
can you detach for that attachment to
Mm.
expectation is very, very interesting,
Yeah.
because this opening door gesture works the exact same in dialogue. It's a form of
Mm.
dialogue, like when you're
mhm,
interacting with somebody. This post that you posted about, how growth only happens through conflict,
Mm.
is that thing about holding the door. You've created, you made up this door now, and now you opened up this conversation. When you opened up this door, are the people holding the door for you, or are they closing it on you to make their
mm,
point? Right? It's like,
mm,
you have to understand me, or I'm actually welcoming you into a conversation with me to
mm.
sift this through and figure some
Right,
perspectives out. No one's right or
right.
wrong, but it's what is your right. And I'm
True. I
seeing
Yeah.
mean,
understand that.
it's
Yeah.
to interpretation. I could have been like,
Yep.
"Hey guys, I want to actually have a discussion about this," and
Yep.
prefaced it so that people don't
Mm.
quick to shut me down, right?
Yeah.
Though it was posted in a way that definitely created controversy because it was
Yeah, it
just
was
a
great. I know,
right
117
one of
Yeah.
those
comments,
polarizing
41 likes.
mic
That's
drop
awesome.
Yeah.
statements,
No,
right?
that's a lot
Successful
of
post, by the
engagement.
way.
Yeah, I
I
think that
gave
is
it,
metrics wise. Metrics
but
wise, you hit.
that trick hurt your feelings a little bit, I think. So
Yeah.
like, it's like, fuck, that kind of sucks.
But
But it's like, how what is conflict to you, actually, if you don't mind sharing?
Great question.
yeah.
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 So conflict to me is actually boils down to my understanding of universal law that the universe, in order to understand itself, split itself, or God created heaven on earth or whatever
Mm,
as its creation. So the yin yang, the male,
mm,
female, the good and bad, the polarity as a reflection on itself. So the growth always required a separation from the truth. So it's very deep, right? Where I'm going with conflict. So conflict is not necessarily conflict with the person. Conflict is more of the difference in polarity, the difference in understanding that come up to a truth. So if I receive growth through trust or mutual understanding or love or even surrender, in order
mm,
for me to understand what love is, I must understand what hate is. To then appreciate what love and gratitude is, I got to experience the exact opposite to know what the other is. So, yes, you can definitely receive growth through love, though at the basis, it begins at conflict. Or you could reword to say contrast.
or is it contrast rather than conflict? I'm
Mm.
curious, because in Buddhism,
What's,
like, I study Buddhism
yeah.
quite a lot, and this is
Mm,
actually, there's five different types of contrasts.
mm,
Like, one of the major ones is the inner outer contrast, meaning how you exude yourself externally
mm,
affects you internally, and vice versa. So let's say if you look unwell, naturally your feelings will be unwell too. But if you look well and you actually feel a little unwell, naturally it might influence you to feel good. So
mm,
I understand what you're trying to say in terms of it's like growth only happens through exploration of the contrasts, let's say, rather than through
mm.
conflict. Um, but does your statement pose enough space for people to understand it without you explaining? And
No.
obviously I'm playing devil's advocate
Yeah.
here, because I
Mm,
understand what you're trying to do, and this is messaging and marketing. How do you
Mm,
generate quick statements that people can pick up right away? Can you write at like a grade 5 to grade 7 level about, for people to pick up your statement?
mm,
And I think it's really interesting. It's a great example of when people disagree with something, how they post. It's a great exercise that you did. But for
mm,
me, when I'm looking at it, to be a parent, that word conflict of how you explain it takes a bit of time to explore before anyone would fully understand that statement. So
mm,
to the point of the people that are commenting too, I think they're just feedbacking based on the face value of that word
mhm.
rather than understanding who Andre is. But then there's that expectation of, being understood or understanding someone.
Yeah.
So there's so many different facets that you've put into this kind of
yeah.
a post, let's say,
Yeah.
that I think is interesting. I'm just
Me too.
exploring with you.
Yeah.
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 So it's
Yeah,
very, very
it,
good.
it is. It is. It is. It's very, very interesting when you see like kind of dialogues like that. And I always wonder, let's say if someone does a post and someone jumps on my post, for example, and just comments something that is negative, that is downright wasn't in the flow of discussion, and it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
shows
yeah.
that there is something that is a need that is not met. And I
Yeah.
always think of, like I create a post, this is my page, this is my house. To a certain degree, I am free to express however I feel in my house. And it's just like I
Sure.
have arranged the furniture a certain way. It's
Yeah.
just like when someone comes in and say, "Hey, I don't like where you put the sofa. I don't like where you put." It's like,
The fuck off.
what?
Yeah, I know. I know. Like,
This is
yeah.
my house.
Like,
This
go
is
away.
my house.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't
yeah.
like the walls pink? Fuck you. I like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
walls
yeah,
pink.
yeah.
Basic.
I like pink. Pink's nice. No, no, it's like-
Yeah.
Yeah, I like pink. But it's really interesting because I think it's always interesting to just be able to just kind of put out our triggers aside, and then really spells like our own insecurities, my own insecurities. I speak for myself, like that
Mm,
validation, that wanting to be heard, wanting to be supported. If I put all of that aside and take a step back and reclaim my projections, I look at, like you said, the person's having a bad day, the person has had trauma with this particular issue, with this specific word. This word conflict could have been just a theme for all throughout his or her life, and it's just a really sore
yeah,
spot.
true,
So it's it's
true.
it's very, very interesting to, it's tough sometimes when you do, I think biologically and evolutionary, ev- as our evolution is just to be a part of the tribe, to be in a
Yeah, yeah.
community, to be loved,
Be
to be
included.
supported, to feel safe, to be
Yeah,
included. Exactly.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when that kind of is challenged, it brings up our own stuff, and I
yeah,
think it's always it's a great experiment, Andre,
yeah.
for you, and lots of lessons and lots of learnings there, and for me as well, just through what you just shared, and what your articulation of conflict is. That's really, really deep. I really love that, Andre.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
mm. Appreciate
Like,
that. Yeah.
Andre,
Yeah.
then how do you feel? How do you feel right now? I guess after that,
Oh.
what's a bit
Oh,
of
yeah.
perspective
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
how
Feel
you're
light.
feeling?
Feel light.
Mm,
It is a process of unraveling my self worth from it and seeing the gift, and the gift is a social experiment. The gift is open debate. The gift is ah viewing other people's perspectives on it as well, right? So
Yeah.
it achieved its accomplishment in
Mm-hmm.
creating learning and growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
ironically, growth through
Yeah,
conflict.
yeah, yeah. I know.
exactly.
Perfect
100%.
example.
100%.
I grew through this conflict specifically. You should put it on a statement. Recently grew through conflict. Check this post out, and then you just refer to this post. uh, yeah.
I
But
love it.
no, commend you. But I think it's also,
Mm,
in my perspective, a great opportunity, for efficiency in language. Like, remember you shared, like, what was the one thing that you want to be amazing at, or be
Mm,
known for when for your life. And I was talking about communication, and it's always like, how can you simplify it so much that people pick up what you put on the table really, really quickly. can you generate like the word conflict has obviously a negative connotation attached to it.
Mm,
Let's say, when you switch that word with contrast, for example,
mm,
the light and the dark, when you're talking about love and hate,
mm,
these are all contrasting points, and
mm,
the interaction of those things, sure, can generate conflict when they interact, but in itself, I think it's a contrast. So maybe if you
mm.
put, growth only happens through understanding of contrast, could generate a different type of conversation, but it might
Right,
not get heated up as this, where you have 117 posts
Mm.
and conversation going.
Yeah.
right.
Um,
So
but
yeah,
the
what is the
and
intent? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. And to your point, about existence of one thing, needs the opposite to exist, and I'm
Well,
wondering, does it, you know, does it need to
it's more like
exist
to
that way?
understand itself, right? It's
Mm.
Sure.
like if I was just myself and I was the only human on this planet, and maybe I can go inwards and meditate,
Yeah, yeah,
though, like what type of growth would I get versus if I had you guys to reflect my shit back at me, right?
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
As
yeah.
mirrors.
Mm.
So it's definitely a great debate on that.
Mm.
Because I
Yeah,
haven't mastered
reflection.
meditation to go within to figure out how
Yeah,
much
yeah,
growth
yeah,
I
yeah,
could have compared
yeah,
to talking out loud with you guys and seeing how
yeah,
much
yeah,
more
yeah.
growth I
Just
could
laying
get.
it out there and borrowing experiences through dialogue. I think that's always an amazing exercise to do, and I that's what I appreciate about our group here. Doesn't matter how many people watch this; it's very self-serving.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is for
Yeah.
myself. I just
They,
want to, like,
same here.
if people want to jump in and just shoot the shit with us, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's more definitely that I'm trying to learn, like, to your point, Andre, again, of, let's say I want to learn about love. Do I need to
Mm,
fully understand what hate is, or
mm,
can I borrow from
Mm.
someone to share with me, a perspective of hate that makes
mm,
me understand love enough? It's like those 10
mm,
hammers again. It's like, do I need to go through the full 10 to find that one? Or am I
yeah.
content with maybe the first one that I got can do the job good enough?
Mm.
And it's like, when do we actually stop? But
Yeah,
human nature,
it's a question of the depth of understanding.
yeah,
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 I think that
yeah,
was that's a word that came to mind, depth as well, isn't it? Like if
yeah,
you've truly
to be effective.
experienced, it's both sides. Yeah. Um, if
Yeah,
you
yeah. So
truly
I think
experience
this,
hate,
no, this is really, really cool, because this is, for me, it's
yeah.
it's an everyday thing, where,
Mm.
how do I understand something? The opposite, the contrast, is a good way to showcase something really, really well. I believe there also are other ways to explore a certain idea,
Sure,
perspective.
sure.
Let's say it's like knowing what, like, I feel cold right now. It's because I know in my natural
Mm.
state, I feel comfortable. It's not that I feel warm or hot, but I know that I'm not in my balanced state. Same thing, if
Mm,
I'm too hot, it's because I know when I'm in my balanced state, I'm not cold nor hot. So
Mm.
there's that. There's still, so many different levels between, let's say, that love hate spectrum that you're talking about. There's maybe
mm,
certain
Mm.
love with, a minimum of a little bit of hate. There's a lot of hate with a little bit of love. There's, like, it's
mm,
quantum. I think that's gets into quantum about ratios. It's like a
mm,
percentage of it is this. There's nothing that's absolute. You're always fluctuating
Mm.
within 2 points. So, but no,
mm,
sorry to
Mm.
jump in, like,
Mm.
deeper and deeper, but uh, it's very, very interesting. That's all I can say. And good job on triggering
Mm.
people to think and
mm.
actually dialogue on your
Yeah,
platform. Yeah, that's like, yeah, amazing. 117. I'm just reading through
yeah.
it, like,
Yeah.
slowly through. I'm like, people are, like, showing, like,
Oh.
memes and photos and stuff. Yeah, and read this book, blah blah blah. It's like, holy shit. This is fantastic. Did you read through everything,
You
or?
did go into the
I
weeds.
did. I did
Oh,
read
you
it
did.
through everything. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Uh,
awesome. And did you
yeah.
enjoy it?
I did. I mean, from a place of like, wow, interesting, insightful.
It's like, yeah, insightful. Yeah,
Seeing
yeah,
from where they're
Mm.
coming from, putting
Mm.
myself in their shoes.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Never
So I'm
saw
going
it
back
that
and
way.
forth,
Yeah.
right? To see like what their frame of mind is, so I can understand them. And that's why when I respond with the question versus a statement because I want to understand.
Mm. I think that's key, wanting to understand, because it's easy to just form with a statement and say this is what it means to me and just cut it off there. But I think that's really wise to be able to just open the door even further and say, hey, I want to know more about what your perspective is. And because I mean it's it's all filters, isn't it? Our filters are built from our conditioning and our belief and our value systems. But everybody has different filters. Everybody has different traumas. But I think it's just sometimes it's just worth just taking a step back and just saying, hey, opening the door and playing the whole yes and game on improv. Yes and yes, let me know. But I think it reaches a point where you stop playing the yes and game, because after a while, how much more how much of yourself do you want to give away to and preserve your own authentic self versus yes and but who are you truly? Who am I truly? What do I truly believe in? I'm just pulled in different directions by yes and, or am I truly me? And I agree to disagree at this juncture, at this point. This is where I disagree with you. So I think it's just it comes back down to full circle boundaries again. Where are your boundaries? Where are my boundaries?
Right. Your sense of self, your spirit, your soul, right? Am I losing my soul because I want to people please so much that I lose my sense of self?
Correct.
Or is there a point where I draw the line in the sand and this is what I stand for, this is what I hold sacred in, and this is who I totally am. And I respectfully disagree, right? Because I stand in those core values.
This is where, indeed.
Yeah, as long as you know, it really comes down to if you know what you're doing is right for you. That's all that matters, and no one else
Come
can
from a good
change
place,
that
come from
thought,
a right place. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're there to build your own life and interact with people you love, and that's all that's needed. If you dwindle it down, today, like every single day when I wake up and I see, my son happy, my wife happy, my mom happy, that's all. That's all like just what I need, and everything is working towards that right now. And of course, myself too. That's still quite important in terms of my own growth, curiosity, building myself. I actually want to be better as I get older and get clearer with thought. But then again, it's not being not curious anymore either, because I know we start like shaving things down to be super clear, efficient, effective. It comes down to a point that you're so clear with your system that that's the only thing that you do and surround yourself with is just like simplicity, that sometimes you get complacent of exploration and curiosity, right? And I think part of life, it's really entertaining when you're curious, because there's infinite possibilities with everything. So like, with new technologies that just came out with like, the AI side of everything right now with, Dolly and like Midjourney that can draw things based on like words that are incredible.
Wow.
And, things that can generate social media blog posts. Yeah. In 5 minutes for the month. Write full, like, incredible articles in like, 1 minute. After you state kind of what the titles are. Yeah, there's so many cool technology that's out there that people's trying to figure out for the purposes of, let's say, social media and connecting with people. That's so impressive. I'm like, this is like incredible that we're living in this world with all this information, and also the
still want to
production
talk to
of
human beings, though.
Yeah. It's like, and that's the thing. Like, how does it detach? I think social media and the mobile phone has been quite detaching in terms of social interaction. It's really weird. It was made to connect, but it actually disconnects. So it's like really, really weird.
Weird, right?
There,
It's like you
but
push something and the exact opposite force also gets
I know.
created too.
I know. It's like you detach it. It gives you space to detach from the present and the now and here. It's like that phone extends you out to, the future and somewhere else. And it's because it's made to be so interesting. Like it's like information overload, color overload, that you're like, fuck, it's like I'm so intertwined with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I saw a clip a while back about this guy in Korea that won an opportunity to meet his love of his life, his inspiration,
Oh, cool.
this social media and this female media influencer, and so there he was across her looking at his phone of her.
Oh my God.
So he could not connect face to face, but he was just looking. It was screen, obviously stream, and he was looking at the stream of her when he was in front of her. I was like,
What?
wow, that is so that was so bizarre.
Bizarre.
That's weird.
Absolutely bizarre, man. Yeah, that's so weird. And I think because you're living through this lens, you're living through this filter, and that's why we've got, people can just hide behind the keyboards and just go ape shit on whatever they want to say, but they will
Keyboard
not go face
warriors,
to
right?
face. And yeah, but it was just really fascinating, that whole experience, just watching that, that someone that you've always looked up to and inspired,
We're
admired.
on uncharted territory, hey, guys. I
Yeah.
mean, with the advent of AI and technology, the way it
Oh my
is,
goodness,
it's going to
yeah.
change the way we think, the way we operate as a species as well. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the evolution, right? Of like the monkey, if you believe in evolution, whatever, right? You go to human, and all of a sudden you go down to like into a machine or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's
Very
really
interesting. So,
Yeah.
unpredictable. See where it goes.
yeah. Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. No, I think it's interesting. I think keep life exciting. The journey is really entertaining. I think it's when we land
Very.
somewhere that we're looking at something else constantly, and how can
Yeah,
we
because I mean, with
actually
all the diverse
appreciate?
opinions, traumas, beliefs, like
Yeah,
we're making the best we can work on this planet, right? With 8
yeah,
billion people like
yeah.
coexisting
Exactly.
together right now.
Mm.
So
And I think that's
yeah.
the thing with when you see comments and you create the space for dialogue. Everyone is always talking about the past or the future. No one really focuses on the present. Let's say the thing you talked about, growth, through conflict. Like you said, no one asks about what is your current meaning of conflict.
Mm,
It's all about my past understanding of what my understanding conflict is, or it's like you should do this in the future to make sure you understand my point.
mm,
It's never let's live now and be as happy as we can be at this moment.
mm,
Because yeah, like I've had some social media kind of like rants and conflicts and kind of arguments and stuff too, and then ultimately like we'd message offline and I'll be like, I just want to be friends. We don't even have to unfriend or anything, but we can be polite in terms of perspective. You're trying to
mm,
push your perspective a lot, more than I actually. For me, it's quite easy to just detach from the
mm.
point, because ultimately I know, again, my wife, my son, my mom are good,
Yeah.
and I think that it
Mm.
provides a lot of kind of calm for me when
Mm,
what I believe is important is in front of me. I
yeah.
see them every single day.
Mm.
I say I love you to them all the time, not just
Mm,
once a day. It's like every single moment I get, I hug them, I kiss them
mm,
and stuff. And it's like really appreciating what's in front of you.
mm.
And that's all that it
So
means, because
important.
you can't get everything. Jumping back to the books,
Mm.
you have so many books, you can't get through all of them. Like, and
Where
to
are
be
we going,
happy.
right? Where there's still
Yeah,
race,
yeah.
Yeah.
Where are
right?
you going?
And
Where are you actually going? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
love like keep it simple, like reminding myself what's important, right?
mm,
And then going
Yeah.
back to like what's good and what's bad, right?
yeah,
And just be this zen state of like neutrality and not
yeah,
being
yeah,
too
yeah,
high
yeah,
or
yeah.
too low. Yeah.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. No, cool, cool. I know the time definitely flies when we're jumping into the really cool
Yeah, man.
conversation. I thought it was gonna be like 23 minutes. I was like, oh, is this going anywhere? And then suddenly the post about
While you're
the
spilling your
growth
coke, right?
topic.
You're like thinking, right? Like, oh, this is
And I was like, Coke. I'm
it's,
like, oh,
it's just
it was
just like
all
a
that.
speaker
No, but
takes speaker takes a drink of water,
seriously
or
though, yeah,
comedian takes a drink of water.
Exactly. But no, I truly enjoy these conversations, and
Same here.
hopefully others that have a chance to sift through this in the future will enjoy it as much as we did. But yeah, let's call it an end. But let's
A
see if
night
we can
day.
generate more cool stories and journeys that we can share. But yeah, let's I think staying consistent with our 1 week until we have some other commitments that we have to attend to. Sometimes we're being sick too. So I was sick last week. Otherwise, we would have done last week. So apologies. But no, appreciate you guys, and
Appreciate you
thank you so
both.
much again for sharing all the stories and happenings. So, but no, my friends, thank you. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. See you next
Bye.
week. Take care.